The story begins at Bush State Prison. Warden Bill and his bookkeeper Dwight are watching a movie called The Human Centipede 2. In the movie, a man stitches 10 people together in a very disturbing way. Bill says the movie is stupid, but his assistant Daisy says she actually likes it. Bill gets angry and behaves badly toward her, treating her with disrespect and saying she should not have opinions.
Watch your tits.
Then Bill gets a phone call about another problem in the prison. While going to check it, Dwight tells him the prison is in serious trouble. Too many staff are quitting, violence is high, and costs for lawsuits and medical care are very expensive. If things don't improve, the governor may remove them from their jobs. Dwight suggests he may have an idea to help. In the prison block, the inmates insult Bill because he is known to be cruel. One prisoner, number 297, makes a serious threat against him, and Bill promises to deal with him later. Soon after, they find out a guard has been stabbed by a prisoner. Dr. Jones is trying to save the guard's life. Even in this serious moment, Bill still demands his regular medical checkup.
Physical checkup, see you in an hour at job.
Yes, sir!
The prisoner who did the stabbing, number 178, is held by guards, but keeps threatening Bill. Bill becomes angry, insults him, and asks which hand he uses.
He's right-handed, sir.
Bill breaks the prisoner's right arm. Bill wants to do more harm, but Dwight reminds him about the high medical costs. Bill says he will come back later after the prisoner heals. The other prisoners start shouting threats together, and prisoner 178 also promises revenge. Bill loses control, starts shooting in the hallway, and demands respect.
Respect!
But no one fears him. Later in his office, Bill tells Dwight that they should bring back old-fashioned torture methods. Dwight keeps saying that the system isn't working and wants to suggest an option, but he's ignored. Daisy brings him a package, and Bill is excited to find a very special order. It's a jar filled with dried female organs, which supposedly tribal leaders in Africa eat for amazing strength. Bill eats one without any second thought. At that moment, Bill gets a call from an unknown voice telling him that the death squad is coming for him. A scared Bill hangs up and starts panicking, hiding under the table and loading his gun. Dwight knows this isn't the first time it has happened, so he calls the guards and proves his guess. Prisoner 346 used his monthly family call for a prank instead. When Bill hears that he fell for it again, he screams in anger. Afterward, Bill goes to the medical room for his checkup, and Jones says he wants to run some tests because Bill's heart doesn't sound good, blaming it on stress. Bill thinks that stress is for weak people and grabs Jones by the ears, threatening to fire him if he doesn't get good news. Jones tells him that he's in perfectly good health. Later, Bill visits prisoner 346, who has been tied to a table for his prank. Two guards bring buckets of boiling water, and Bill starts pouring them on 346's face, who writhes and cries out in pain. His face ends up badly damaged. But even in his suffering, he tells Bill that he lost his soul. Eventually, Governor Hughes comes for a visit. Bill offers him a cigar, but Hughes turns it down, saying he only smokes Cubans. This upsets Bill so much that he runs to hug the American flag. Hughes tells off Bill for the violent way he manages the prison, saying it's hurting his career. He demands changes and will return in 2 weeks to check on the situation. If things don't improve, Bill and Dwight will be fired. After Hughes leaves, Bill starts panicking again and shouts all kinds of insults at the governor. Yet, he refuses to change his cruel ways and sends all the prisoners to the yard where they must stand for hours under the burning summer sun. Bill goes to the tower and talks to the inmates with a megaphone, insulting them all before announcing a new type of punishment: castration. His first victim is 297, who the guards take back inside. In a cell, Bill heats a knife while the guards hold 297 against the wall. Bill uses the knife to cut 297's testicles, enjoying the way he screams. Then Bill sends them to the cook because he wants to eat them for lunch. He finishes the punishment by covering his face with the prisoner's blood. In the office, Bill forces Daisy to be intimate with him while Dwight is still in the room. When they're done, Bill makes Daisy swallow, reminding her that she owes him because he got her father out of prison. She asks for candy to get rid of the bad taste and ends up eating a female organ from the jar, not knowing what it really is. Then, Bill eats 297's testicles for lunch, which disgusts his partner. Dwight keeps saying he has an idea to improve their prison, but Bill ignores him, angry because he's found the DVDs of the Human Centipede movies on his desk. Later in the medical room, Bill enjoys watching the nurse remove the bandages from 346's face, who keeps crying out in pain and insulting him. Next, Bill tells 178 that he's here to follow up on his promise and breaks the man's fingers. Jones informs him that 297 is doing okay, and Bill is so pleased by the results that he announces that tomorrow he'll start castrating every prisoner. Dwight thanks Jones for putting up with Bill's madness. Jones explains that this is the only place that will let him work without his license. Bill wakes 297 up to make fun of him, but the inmate is still not scared by him and threatens him again. A frustrated Bill starts choking him until he kills him, so he calls Jones and asks him to bring him back. The doctor manages to restart 297's heartbeat with the defibrillator, only for Bill to then choke him and kill him again. After Bill leaves, Dwight asks Jones to watch the Human Centipede movies. In the evening, Bill spends a while crying on the bathroom floor. He returns to the office with a gun and a bottle of whiskey, complaining about the prisoner's lack of respect and how he'll get fired. Dwight snaps and yells at him to finally make him listen to his idea. He wants to make a huge human centipede with all the inmates. This would mean no more prison fights, no more attacks on guards, and no more disrespect. It would keep the prisoners on their knees at Bill's mercy and be the perfect warning against crime. Bill doesn't think that those movies are realistic, but Dwight has already talked to the director and confirmed that it's all medically accurate. A furious Bill still thinks that it's a stupid idea and fires Dwight, who insults him. Bill just responds by spitting. On his way out, Dwight gives Daisy his handkerchief, and she holds it while she cries. Afterward, Bill starts panicking and yelling about his hatred for people. After eating more female organs, he goes to the tower and starts insulting the prisoners with his megaphone, but the yard is empty. Sometime later, Bill is drinking alone in the dining hall when suddenly all the inmates surround him. He yells for help, but the guards don't come. So, he begs for mercy while saying he's only been following orders, that everyone is allowed to leave, and that he has a heart problem. The prisoners hold him down, and 297 cuts a hole in the side of Bill's body so he can force himself on him. Bill screams and bleeds all over the floor while 297 violates him, and the others chant with excitement. Nearby, another prisoner is forcing Dwight to be intimate with him. At that moment, Bill wakes up from this nightmare in his office. The next day, Bill is visited by Dwight and Tom, the real director of the Human Centipede movies. When Tom tries to shake hands, Bill spits at him. While Dwight starts praising Tom's career, Jones joins them and explains he had to resuscitate 297 again after another heart attack. Dwight insists the Human Centipede is a perfect plan to deal with the prison's problems, and Tom assures everyone that it's medically accurate, showing them the diagrams he got from a doctor before he made the movies. Jones studies all the diagrams and confirms that it's possible, so Bill finally agrees to do it. However, Dwight points out they need to do it differently from the movies because the prisoners still have to be released without permanent injuries at the end of their sentences. Instead of removing their teeth, they'll use a ring to keep their mouths open, and instead of cutting their knee ligaments, they can cause temporary paralysis. Jones doesn't like the project but has to go along with it, or Bill will fire him. Tom lets them use his idea on the condition that he can watch one of the operations, and Bill agrees as he finally shakes his hand. Bill thinks they should make the prisoners watch the movies before announcing his plan, but Dwight disagrees. He points out that it would only make them angry and violent, so they should prepare everything without the inmates knowing. Once again, Bill ignores him. That afternoon, the prisoners watch the first movie. Some of them enjoy it, while others think it's awful and should be banned. When they get loud with their complaints, Bill fires his gun in the air to quiet them. He then tells them about his plan, and just like Dwight predicted, everyone loses control. The inmates start beating up the guards, so Bill and Dwight have to run away. They close the gate behind them. However, the prisoners manage to open it anyway. Bill and Dwight rush to hide in the office, but they don't let Daisy hide with them. When she tries to tell the prisoners that she has nothing to do with this, 178 knocks her down and starts choking her. Then he starts stabbing her as another prisoner takes advantage of her, while 297 starts hitting the office door with a fire extinguisher. Dwight calls for help, and Bill eats more female organs, then he breaks the window and jumps out to the yard to escape. As Dwight eats out of the jar in desperation, special agents burst in and kill the prisoner, abusing Daisy before arresting the others. In the yard, all the inmates trying to escape are arrested as well. Afterward, Dwight finds Bill and tells him that Daisy is badly hurt, but Bill demands a doctor for himself even though he only has a few scratches. Then he throws a fit in the middle of the yard. Sometime later, Bill is pleased to see that the prisoners are silent in their cells. He puts sedative darts in his rifle and shoots the inmates one by one to put them to sleep. Then, the guards take them to the medical room and tie them to the beds. While Bill explains the operation, Jones has been allowed to hire 5 surgery teams who are now creating centipede sections of 3 prisoners each. These sections rest in the hospital tents outside and are added to the final centipede chain, little by little. One of the prisoners has inflammatory bowel disorder, which gives him ongoing diarrhea. So Bill decides he'll be attached to 297's mouth as punishment. Another prisoner has a stoma, which is a surgical opening in his abdomen through which his waste comes out. Since his rectum is sewn shut, he cannot be part of the centipede. Bill inserts his gun into the stoma and shoots him dead. He also kills a wheelchair-bound inmate for not being compatible either. Afterward, Bill and Dwight visit Daisy, who is in a coma. Dwight thinks they should send her to a proper hospital, but Bill wants to keep her close. Ignoring Dwight's pleas, Bill assaults her while she is unconscious. Sometime later, the office window is repaired and almost all the inmates have been operated on. Bill celebrates by finishing his jar of female organs. He then pretends to be Hughes to imagine how happy the governor will be with his plan, and Dwight has to remind him that it was actually his idea. That afternoon, Tom comes back and Bill gives him a tour of the place. The last inmate is unstable and already enjoys eating his own waste, so he looks forward to being part of the centipede. However, Bill doesn't want anyone to enjoy this because it's meant to be a punishment. So he shoots this man too. Bill then takes Tom to the surgery room where they watch as 346's face is sewn to another inmate's rear, which Bill finds very exciting. In another room, Dwight is shocked to discover that some prisoners are having their limbs removed, and the sight makes Tom vomit. Dwight demands an explanation, but Bill says it's a surprise. When the project is finally ready, Hughes is invited to the prison. Bill and Dwight take him to the yard to show a huge human centipede with 346 at the front. The two tell Hughes about their vision of a world without crime, made possible by this terrifying punishment. While the centipede is forced to eat, only 346 is given actual food, and the others have to swallow the waste from the person in front of them. Even Daisy has been added to the chain. Dwight keeps talking about all the money they could save on food and housing, but Bill interrupts him and makes him clean the last person on the centipede whose pants are soiled. Next, Bill takes Hughes to another section of the yard to reveal his surprise. It's a human caterpillar, which he created using life-sentenced and death row inmates. Since these people will never be released, their arms and legs have been removed, meaning they can only crawl on the ground like a caterpillar. In the medical room, Bill shows Hughes a prisoner who has just finished his sentence. The man was part of the human centipede and is now being sent home. The only marks left on his body are scars on his mouth and back from the surgery. Bill explains that this is a way to stop crime, because people will always know who has been punished like this. He asks the man how he feels.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
So he is taken away. Hughes is shocked and disgusted by what he sees. He says that Bill and Dwight will be punished and could even face the death penalty. Bill then pulls out a gun and thinks about shooting himself, but instead he points it at Dwight, blaming him for the whole idea. At that moment, Jones walks in to check on them, and Bill suddenly shoots him, killing him. Bill is about to shoot Dwight too, but Hughes comes back and says something surprising. He believes this idea is exactly what America needs. He says he wants to take this idea to Washington and even hopes to become president after Hughes leaves. Again, Dwight starts arguing, saying the idea was his and he deserves credit. Bill hugs him and calls him a genius, but then suddenly shoots him in the head. After that, Bill cleans the gun and puts it in Dwight's hand to make it look like Dwight killed himself. Sometime later, Bill is seen naked at the tower, shouting through a megaphone while looking down at the human centipede in the yard. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.